And welcome, it's Dan. Hope you're well today. Welcome to today's podcast show. In today's session, I wanted to talk about the 3 reasons why people don't actually create online courses. And I understand it because I've been there, but all the way back in 2020, obviously we went into lockdown and we had COVID and we had all that sort of stuff going on. And all the way back then, I mean, I could see COVID coming. It started in Italy, where people locking down, and obviously we're in Spain, and I'm like, if people are locking stuff down in Italy, it's only a matter of time because we're not that far away from it, even just by land. It's 13 hours in the car, for God's sake, an hour or two on the plane. I could see it coming, and I was like, you know what, the whole world's going to shut down if this gets much worse, and obviously it did. But luckily, all the way back then, we had the foresight to go, you know what, if people are locking down and people are, not going to be able to go anywhere, they're going to want or have to do something. And so we thought, let's create an online training course. And we did that. And it was released back in February 2020, and the sales just took off. And obviously it was a different time back then because we had COVID and everybody was locked down for, quite a long time, really, in Spain in particular, like 16 weeks, I think we were locked down, or 6 weeks. It was a long time anyway. And people bought, and it was amazing because I'm like, gosh, people, this was a real change. Everybody was on Zoom. Do you remember those? We were all zoomed out. Do you remember? We were just so fed up with being on Zoom all the time. And so we were very lucky, and we created that, and then we started creating more courses, and we started selling more courses as well. So we kind of got over this idea of us feeling not being good enough. And one of the first reasons why I believe people don't create courses is because they suffer from this thing called imposter syndrome, where they just think that what they know isn't worthy enough, or, people will get found out, or even that the stuff that you're teaching is wrong. And people might email you or say publicly, well, I disagree and that's wrong. And obviously that was 6 years ago. We're in 2026 now. And one of the things I've learned is that you could say water's wet and somebody would tell you that you're wrong, by the way. The sky is blue. Oh, no, it's not. There's always somebody who will disagree with whatever take you have on the world. And I think this is the bit about imposter syndrome, is that if this is you and this is your experience and this is what you've learned as an entrepreneur, or in weight loss, or in marketing, or whatever it happens to be, whatever transformation that you can actually get, if that's something that you've gone through, then you can teach it, and you should teach it, because somebody else who is just like you wants the thing that you know how to do, and yet for some reason you're not recording it and you're not selling it, because you feel this imposter syndrome. And I think that's a little bit crazy. And I think that if we can get you over that, you can actually create a training course in less than 2 weeks. You can publish it and you can make your first bit of money in less than 2 weeks. And we know this because we've had clients come back to us and go, yes, I've done that. And we know that you can do that as well. So the idea around you having this idea of being an imposter, I know it's very challenging to overcome, but once you overcome it, and once you actually get some sales, and then when you get the feedback from people who've implemented what you've done and they've gone and got results, honestly, it's one of the best feelings in the world. And then the second bit here is we're kind of tied together, these, both the imposter syndrome and you believing that what you know is not that valuable. And people have asked me as a property sourcer, for example, they go, well, what qualifications do you have to be teaching this? Have you got a degree in property? And it's like, I don't need a degree in property. Do you need a degree to open a Greggs? Do you need a degree to lose weight? Do you need a degree to be great at basketball or CrossFit or whatever your sport is? You don't need any of those things. If you've got a methodology of getting a transformation from a person, so person A, they're 20 pounds overweight, and you've got a system that can help them lose 20 pounds in 20 weeks, is that worth 30 quid, 60 quid, 100 pounds? I believe that it is. And you might not, by the way, because you go, well, it's obvious. The answer's so obvious. And it's obvious to you what the answer is, but it's not obvious to everybody else. I mean, the more time I spend speaking with people over things like marketing, it's so obvious what you should be doing in marketing, and then you speak to somebody and they're going, oh wow, that's amazing. And it's like, this is the most basic stuff going, and we're having to teach it. And it's because people don't know what they don't know. To you, it's the most basic of things. To them, it's rocket science. It's harder than rocket science. And so you can actually go and just teach the bare basics for money and get paid. And you can have an advanced course and a super advanced course because as people start going and start building trust with you, they want the next course. And eventually they buy everything. We've got clients who've literally bought everything that we do, which is amazing. And also that should tell you then, if they bought everything that we do, we should have more for them to buy, right? And so you've got to get to this position where you are believing that the knowledge that you've got locked up in here is valuable to a person that doesn't know how to do that. And people are all these different levels. You know, on weight loss, just eat less, move more. Everybody knows that on weight loss, right? How many people can lose weight? Not that many. Just eat more, eat less and move more. Like, it's obvious, but that's not the answer, is it? If that was the answer, everybody would be super slim and, you know, built. And that's not the answer. We know that that's not the answer. And if you actually have the answer and you've got a methodology that can get that transformation, and really that's what people are buying. I think this is really important to understand. Like, when somebody buys a training course, exactly what is it that they think they're buying? And exactly what is it that you think they want to buy? And are those two things aligned? Because sometimes they're not. Sometimes what that person is buying is somebody else just like them, who's not a doctor and who's not got degrees and who's not got all this stuff that you're supposed to have, apparently. I don't know who says that you're supposed to have it, but some people do. And that's not what they want. They want somebody who's just like them to show them how to do it. How do I get that transformation? And this transformation is in all sorts of different things. Smoking cessation, relationships, how to put weight on, how to lose weight, how to make money, how to not lose money, how to have more efficient time management. We sold our time management training hundreds of times because, to me, it's obvious. Time management training is really obvious, but to someone else who's drowning, it's not so obvious. And so you have to get this information and you have to find a way of packaging it up. And that's why we created the Rapid Course Creation Training, because it is a packaged product that wraps up what we know about creating online courses and selling them. And then we put that out. A person buys it, it's 27 quid. It's a no-brainer to buy because it's not a huge amount of money. It's cheaper, or as cheap as a book, but it's a lot more comprehensive. I think, was it 95 videos, something like that, over 13 modules. It's really comprehensive. And so if you can package what you already know and you can put that into something that you can sell, you can make money on an ongoing basis. And then just the third bit here is that people believe it's just too hard to create an online course. And that's one of the reasons why we actually put it down into really small, bite-sized chunks of information. So all you do is you watch video number 1, you implement. You watch video number 2, you implement. You watch video number 3, you implement. By the time you get to the end of all of it, you've got a course, it's outlined, it's recorded, and it's ready to go. You've got landing pages, you've got all your marketing and all of that kind of thing. And, you know, it's like, it might be the 10th course that actually takes off. It might be the 4th. It might be your first course. If it's your first course, by the way, you know, success is not a great teacher. And if you do it on your first course and brilliant, you've made some money, but now you think you're amazing, and I'm sure you are amazing, but just because you had success on your first one doesn't mean every single one will be successful. It might be the 10th, it might be the 5th, who knows, right? But you will never know unless you go out and create the course. You will never know how much money you can make from actually selling online courses. And when you do your first one, that will give you a good indicator, and your second and your third and your fourth. And I came across this thing at Funnel Hacking Live. It's called the square root is the, let me see if I can remember it. Yeah, your square root is the input of 50% of your output. Is that right? But it's 50% of your output. And what that means is that if you've got 16 training courses, 4 of those, the square root of 16 is 4 of those will be responsible for half your income. If you've got 4 training courses, 1 of those will be responsible for half your income. If you have 160 training courses, 40 of those will be responsible for your other 50% of your income. The other 80 will be responsible for the other 50%. Over 80, over 120 will be responsible, which is amazing, right? Because what it means is that if you have 16 training courses, only 4 of those are going to be ultra successful, and the other 12 will be responsible for your 50% of your income. But even then, I would still rather have 16 training courses where 12 of those are only responsible for 50%. That's still a decent amount of money. And this is the key. It's not just your first training course. It's not your last training course. It's every training course. Every training course that you create will be better than the last one as you start to learn and uncover and peel the onion as to what makes a successful training course or not. That's absolutely the key and the way that you should be moving forward. Don't expect to make a lot of money on your first training course. You need to get like 3, 4, 5 training courses, and then one of those will take off, and one of those will be responsible for 50% of your income from training courses. And so you have to get your first one done. When you get your second one done, you move on to your third one. When you get your third one done, you move on to your fourth and your fifth and your sixth. That's the way that it happens, and that's the way that you've got to move forward. Like, the first time you got on a bike, did you think that you were just going to ride it as if by magic? Of course not. Do you think the first time you do your training course, you're just going to end up with millions in sales? Of course not. All this stuff, it takes learning, it takes experience. You know, we have this saying, confidence comes from 2 places. The first is knowledge, and the second is experience. And you might know how to do something, but if you haven't done it, you haven't got confidence. And you might have done it a few times, and you might know how to do it. But really, if you do it more times, you're going to increase the amount of confidence. You might know what to do, but you haven't done it enough yet. And if you haven't done it once, you don't know shit, basically. So you need to get off your butt, go get the Rapid Course Creation, go get your first course created, knock it out the park, make it amazing, make it the best thing that you've ever done, right? And then you've got your first one done, you start selling it. And then when you've done that, you move on to your second course and you make that the best thing you've ever done. And it will be better than the first course. And then when you've done the second course, you go on, you create your third course, and that will be even better than course number 1 and course number 2. And by the time you got to your fourth course, one of those courses will be responsible for half your income from selling training courses. All right, I hope you find that useful. Go get yourself the Rapid Course Creation, and go get yourself a training course signed up and ready to go. Get it created, get it recorded, and get it out there and get selling the damn thing. I hope you find it useful. If you've got any questions, come hit me up and we'll speak to you later. Take care.